Hello students and welcome back. I wanted to welcome you with an Illustrator 101 video and really what every architecture student should know about this program. So I am an absolutely huge Illustrator nerd. I've used Illustrator for about, I don't know, over 10 years. I absolutely adore this program and have been using it ever since I was exposed to Adobe products. And I'll walk you through this and why it's so important, okay? And we'll get into really what Illustrator is. So go ahead and let's get started. So Illustrator 101, what every ARC student should know. Today's goals are let's understand Illustrator, what it is, how do I use it, what it's used for, what are the different tools, and then for my in-person folks, we will be doing a contest, but for my online people, you can just do it at home if you'd like, and if you make something, you can go ahead and send it to me. I'll show you on a slide. I may or may not have it in this slide deck. But I want you to think about for a second, what is a vector graphic? And I want you to think about it or write down your guess. So go ahead and take a minute and pause. All right, so a vector graphic is a lot of things, but I want you to know that a vector graphic is used by many creative professions. And let's start by telling you what a vector is not. So a vector is not a pixel at all, and that is so important to know. Think about Photoshop. Think about a blurry pixelated image. That right there, that's called a raster. And we are not using pixels in Illustrator. We're using what's called vectors. And vectors are lines, paths, shapes, points, really just data that utilize mathematical formulas. And we don't need to be nerds here and get into it. I'm not a math teacher. I absolutely hate math. And if people really think that architects use calculus in the profession, we don't. I've never used my calculus. I've used trig maybe like 5 times, but I just want you to know we are not math people. That's why we hire engineers. We're creative individuals, and yes, we can hold our own with basic math, but we're not mathematicians. So I want you to think about as vectors as like literal lines, paths, shapes, points that can be infinitely resized and scaled. So think about exponential resizing. So a PDF is a great example of a vector that you may be familiar with, and these are just data and points and lines in space that can be zoomed up infinitely. So we have no pixels here, okay? So I want you to remember that. So let's talk file setup in Illustrator. So I have these diagrams set up, and I want you to know, yes, this will be a little overwhelming, and yes, that's okay. Baby steps here. I am not looking for perfection. I am most definitely not looking for you to know what all of this is, okay? And I do not have an Illustrator quiz, and that is super intentional. It's because this program is hard to use, and we have 17 weeks to do this, okay? I'm including finals week. So don't worry. I just want to give you the gist. So this is the welcome screen. Look at Group A, that's creating a new file. B, the area of B is what we call our cloud. I do not recommend saving files there because it is very unreliable, but that's Adobe's version of an online storage platform, okay? And then C shows recent files, which can be helpful. And then D are just ads. They're trying to sell you something. And let's start a new file. So if I were to click that new button up here, remember, new file that we were shown, it'll pop up with this screen. And I know this is a lot of information, but I'm going to make it quick. And these PDFs will always be available on Canvas. And I am always one email away or Zoom call to help. And you can always stop by my office hours or visit me in the computer lab. I'm on campus Monday through Thursday. My syllabus, my hours are listed in the syllabus as well. So just a few things. Group A up here is just showing you helpful presets, just pre-canned things, templates you can use. Do I use them? Nope, I make my own. And then you can just make your own. I usually start by clicking one of these and then edit. So I go in here. You can label your new preset if you wish. I'll be totally honest, I do not do that. But here I'll usually change this to width. Architects, we do not work in pixels. I'll be totally honest, that's more of a graphic design thing. So I'll change this to inches and I'll put in how big I'll need my artboard. An artboard is just your drawing space, okay? And then D right here for print only. A bleed adds a little bit of a layer on the end. So if you're trying to have an image that spans the whole entire page, you'll want it to run off just a little bit before you cut it so you meet the edge of that paper. We don't need to worry about that in this class. And then let's go forward with E. Digital projects will use RGB, which means that we're combining red, green, and blue. And then print projects will use CMYK, so make sure to hit CMYK because our boards will be printed. Is it a big deal if you hit RGB instead of CMYK? Not at all. Don't even worry about it. And then group F is our resolution. I like to keep it at 300 ppi, which is pixels per inch. Ppi at 300 is extremely good. If we are working in vectors, we don't need to go that high, but I like to do that as just a safeguard. It's good practice. It just means that our file will be super crisp. However, this file is a vector, so theoretically it could be scaled infinitely. So you could ask yourself, does that really matter because we actually don't have pixels per inch? Yes. I know it's confusing, so just bear with me, and then you can hit G for create. Okay, so take a deep breath. We're going to talk settings. I know this is super technical, but keep in mind we have a video after this, and I will walk you through everything to create your site plan. So don't you even worry. So here's our setting bar up here. You may be gasping, shaking in your boots. Oh my goodness, he's using a Mac. Yes, I do use a Mac. I'll be honest, some architects do use Macs. Is it common? No. Do I love using my Mac? Yes. Why do I love using a Mac? Because it's beautiful. Okay, I think Windows computers are ugly. I think the user face is ugly. However, when it comes to Illustrator, all of the tools, locations, settings are all the same, so you don't need to worry. I just have a little Apple symbol in the top left corner. You may find that gross, but that's okay. On the other projects, I'll make sure to do PC, but I was just doing this from home during the summer, on my summer off, so that's why that's there. But I want you, so workspace, this is everything we see here, all of these tools, all of these layers, that's called a workspace. And if we go to Window Workspace, you can see our default is called Essentials, right there, okay? And if you ever are missing your layers or tools, always go up to Window, Workspace, and hit Essentials, and you'll get those back. And then here you can see I can turn on additional items as needed. So the items checked are shown, but if I wanted to add maybe a color guide or graphic styles, a lot of these things, I'll be totally honest, architects do not mess with, but you can add them and play around with them if you wish. But here I'm showing you if you want to make your own workspace, you can click whatever you want and then create new workspace, and then you can also reset essentials if you wanted to. So have fun with your projects, take them seriously but not too seriously, and then let's talk about tools. So holy cow, are there tools? Yes, I know. Right now I'm focusing on the blue highlighted tools, okay? You do not really need to know the rest. And you can see I have a heart emoji. I went through a more anatomical heart, which is totally fine. I thought it would be funny. Just give me a second to return to where we were. But that heart right there will indicate an item that's super important to know. So you can see I have a heart emoji here on the layers panel, indicated with an A. And then B is a little eyeball that you can toggle on and off to turn your layer on. It does not delete your layer. And then F on the very bottom, or excuse me, top right, are items you can filter through if you wish. Have I used it? Yes. Have I found it helpful? Not really, but I wanted to let you know it's there in case you had questions. And then here, I'll be focusing on H, I, and J. Feel free to read the rest. But with H, the cool thing about H is that this small triangle can be a little hard to see, so make sure to look closely. But this will select everything on your layer if you click it, which is very helpful. So make sure you know that. If you need to adjust all the line weights on a layer, that's a great way to do that. I will delete your layer, and I is just a little trash can. And then J, the plus symbol, will create a new layer. So guarantee you will use those every single time you open this program. And you can see I noted those with an additional heart. So make sure you keep these files super organized and labeled neatly. Opening up another colleague's file is like walking into a messy crime scene, and it is just awful. In practice, you will likely share your files with each other if you're on the same team. There's deadlines and things, so make sure that you are not being messy and you're being neat and clean. And then to move a layer up in hierarchy, you can just click and drag, and then you just click the name to rename it if you wish. And then here are tools. I will get into these within our next video, but I just want to highlight a few things. This is our selection tool, and then direct selection. So think about the selection tool right here. This is just your everyday arrow to grab and move things. And this right here will expose what's called anchor points, and anchor points make up a curved line or a line that may have a corner in it. And I'll show you all about that and how to edit these. These are super confusing for newbies, but I'll walk you through it on our site plan video. Then we also have our pen right here, which you will use, and then a curvature tool. So those will be really essential. And then we also have a rectangle tool. Text, and then down below we have a little window that allows you to edit the toolbar and add additional tools as needed. So you'll find your preferred tools in Illustrator eventually. You may not use the same ones I use. There are multiple tools and there's a bajillion ways to do things. So do not be hard on yourself and find a method that works for you. However, I will show you methods so you are not lost figuring these out yourself. So in conclusion, keep your layers organized, know your tool options, reset your workspace if they go missing, and name your layers neatly. In the next video, we'll dive into a demonstration and show you how to get that line work on your site plan started. Okay, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.